Do you think they're afraid? Do you think
hope
they're
not.
just scared, shaking in their boots in their basements?
I would want them to think about it like we're at the church fair and we're sitting in the dunking booth, but you get to throw balls for free and bring any size ball you want.
All right.
Just step up, take your shot, and we'll see if you can score a bullseye.
So there you have it.
Quick disclaimer, please do not throw things at the host.
I mean, there's a wall partitioning us here.
That's right. We are safe. We're safe.
So bring your balls to the Atheist Experience. Call that number on the bottom of the screen.
Atheist Experience. Put your balls on the line.
Put your balls on the line. It's time to put your balls where your mouth is.
Blast
because
us
we can have this conversation.
with your giant balls.
Yes. And let's start by hearing about the balls of our first caller, who is Ulrich, pronouns he and him, calling in all the way from Mexico, who says that atheism is based on fallacious reasoning. I already have questions about those words, but let's see where it goes. Ulrich, you are on the Atheist Experience with not just Forrest and not just Secular Rarity, but also, most importantly, with the Cross Examiner.
Yes, hello, how are you?
Good.
Never had a bad day, man.
Oh,
Hey, can you hear us?
I am, right. Me neither.
Hell yeah.
Yes? Can't you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes, we can. Why don't you tell us what our fallacious reasoning is?
Yeah, what you got for us?
Yeah, it's all based on just the observation of now and totally ignoring all the experiences of humanity for the last thousands of years.
Okay, that's just so you know, real quick, that's not fallacious.
Totally ignoring what is happening.
Hang on, Ulrich. I just want to stop because I think what you're getting at, there's a deeper discussion that we can have that's worthwhile, but the way you're already starting off is silly. That's not fallacious what you just talked about, okay? It's not a fallacy in the formal logical syllogistic sense. So let's just have normal conversation. You say, "Hey guys, your atheism doesn't account for all the experiences that people have had over the years." Okay, fine. Let's talk about that, Ulrich. My response, and then I'll let you go back to it. My response is, yeah, man, but personal experiences is not a good way to come to a conclusion, okay? So now let's have the conversation.
And I have one extra point is most people actually don't discount those experiences. We do account for them, and we've assessed them, and we have found them to be wanting. So saying we don't account for them or don't realize them, I think, is a bit of a straw man.
Are you literally turning pages in a script? I just want to ask real quick. I swear I just thought I heard pages turn. It's fine if you are, Ulrich, but like if you got found out that fucking quick, bro, I'm not sure. I'm sorry. Please go ahead. Read the next bullet point.
What are you thinking, Ulrich?
May I respond to that? Or?
Yes, of course.
Yes, it just sounded like paper, and that's very funny.
He was
for a
just
lot
feeding
of
his
reasons.
parrot.
Yeah, it's paper. I'm taking notes.
Okay, fine,
okay.
good.
Yeah, that's cool, yeah.
Fine. Come on.
On paper.
Best reason to have paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, right. There's a lot of reasons I have paper. So, and I brought my ball. So you call me silly, and you just start by talking about, again, like in every call, about genitals. Why is that?
Hang on. Ulrich.
Start with genitals.
Ulrich.
Life starts with genitals.
Yeah, let's not go down this route. Let's not worry about that. We're going to toss it back to you.
Yeah.
What do you think about what myself and Cross Examiner just said about this whole atheism is fallacious thing? Let's do that.
Yeah.
I think that you started with balls and stuff. That shows your level is always so base, so low. Why is that?
If you don't address the question, we're going to have a lot of balls in the air here, and we won't know what to focus on.
Ulrich, I assure you, I would love to talk about genitals for the rest of this call. But that's not the point, and that's not what we're here for. You said that atheism is fallacious or based on fallacious reasoning because we don't account for all the lived experiences of all these religious people. Elliot and Graham just very succinctly told you why that's a bit silly. We would like to know now your response. Were you using the word fallacious colloquially, and you don't actually mean that literally? Do you understand that we do take into account all these lived experiences? We just don't take them very seriously because they're not good enough? Or do you think that we're missing something still?
Look, what you call what's the word? Like you take the position before.
Presupposition.
That's because
Yes.
we have experienced God before. How should we not then take that and go further with that in our investigation of how the world works?
So I would ask you, Ulrich, the exact same question. What about all of the experiences of other deities that you don't believe in, or monsters that you don't believe in, like dragons and Bigfoot and aliens and stuff, or all the other possible ghosts and brownies and leprechauns and all these things that all sorts of people believe in that you don't? Do you think you're missing something by not taking all of their anecdotal evidence seriously? Or do you think that at the end of the day, what you actually need to believe in a thing is real, serious evidence, unless it's God?
I'm taking them more seriously than you because
Okay, that's a shit response.
Well,
Ulrich.
let's hear him. Let's hear him out. How are you taking this more seriously than me? I want to hear that.
Because I think that if somebody tells me like a ghost appeared before me, I really believe that a spirit appeared before them. You don't. You just
Right, so you're just accepting
you're gullible.
it. You're
Yeah.
right. You're just
Because
accepting it
you are
based
not
on the
really
first thing
investigating.
that somebody tells you. That is not adequately taking their experience into account. In fact, you are being not only disingenuous, but you are being rude to them and their experience. If Forrest comes up and tells me that he just got abducted by aliens and I just go, yeah, man, live your fucking life thinking that aliens are probing your butthole every other Sunday. That is being a shitty person to Forrest, because that is not the actual reality. What I'm not doing, though, is saying, hey, man, Forrest, you're just crazy. You didn't actually have. No, I am legitimately saying, okay, what is this experience that he had? Let me try and assess that based on the categories of experiences that have occurred in life. We know that things happen just in our minds. We know hallucinations happen. How do I know Forrest wasn't having a weird hallucination, you know? Like
I've had it before.
if you have a vitamin B deficiency for too long, you can just start seeing all kinds of crazy shit, man. Like just accepting people at their word for these types of experiences is not taking their experiences seriously. In fact, it's the exact opposite. You're just letting them live their lives in this state without ever once saying to them, hey, man, you might want to be careful. That stove is hot. Like, that's not cool, dude.
What do you think about that, Ulrich?
Why am I rude, and why do you have to talk about buttholes again? Why can't you have a level of
Because Ulrich, we are adults
Yeah.
who are humans, and we enjoy a little bit of humor like everybody else. So what do you think about Secular Rarity's response? Rather than clutching your pearls for the 80th time on this call, can you just respond to his point that buying in instantly in a gullible way, just accepting blindly anything that anybody tells you about ghosts and goblins, as you said, is a disservice to that person? Can you please respond to his point?
I never said I accept blindly what they tell me. I say I interpret it differently.
Were we all on the same call?
He literally said he believes
I
a
believe
ghost
them
appeared.
the first time.
Yeah, that's literally what
That
you
is
said, bro.
exactly what you said.
Is that what I said, audience? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, they agree. Okay.
I mean, if you don't look,
We all heard it.
If you don't stand by that
Yeah,
anymore,
we can back
Ulrich,
off.
that's fine. We'll back off.
That's weird.
Say again?
So you need the audience to agree with you so you feel better about yourself.
No, I polled them. I gathered more data.
Ulrich.
I gathered more data.
Ulrich.
The three of us heard something, but we're here in a studio with
Yeah.
bright lights, and maybe we didn't remember correctly. So I looked out to
Yeah.
them as, do I remember that correctly? And they said, yes, that's what you said.
Gotta wonder-
You can go rewind the tape, but
I gotta wonder if you engage with other people in your
I
life
take
like
notes.
this.
That's why I take.
Shut up. I got you on the fucking mute. I gotta wonder if you engage with other people like this in your life, man. It's a really, really odd way to have conversation and incredibly difficult to actually communicate and make progress, okay? So let's just try it. We'll just try it. We'll just like start all the fucking over shit again. It's like, hey, Ulrich, you're on the Atheist Experience. You think atheists are wrong about things, and the reason is because we're not adequately addressing the experiences that people say they have had with supernatural stuff. Well, gosh, Forrest,
Yes.
Graham, I really feel like a good answer to that is that there's a lot of weird brainy stuff that happens. And, you know, because we're all humans, we oftentimes see similar patterns in the world around us. Sure. Do you feel like that fucking accounts for that shit?
Absolutely.
And I feel like a great way to check would be to like check.
Oh.
And not just assume that a
Right.
lot of people believing a thing means that that thing is probably true. You know?
Do we have a way of checking? Is there a method of some sort that we could use?
I believe they do. I believe they do.
Something like that. So, hey, Ulrich, after all of that, what do you think? I'm going to let you back on. What do you think here, buddy?
Okay, I think you're being silly on purpose. Yeah, the scientific method only explains to you the natural world. It will,
What else is there?
includes the supernatural by definition.
Can you please
The supernatural.
Can you please define what is the meaning of supernatural? And two, could you please tell me how you have detected it?
Okay, number one, supernatural, everything that is not observable in nature. That's the definition.
Can you define observable so we're on the same page?
For example, I've experienced-
Hold on. Let's take it one at a time. Can you please define observable?
Would you let me finish my answer?
No, I won't let you finish because you pulled in a word that's going to be key to your argument, and I want to make sure we're on the same page. Can you please define observable? What does it mean to be able to observe something?
Scientifically observable by our methods that we have with our senses, seeing, listening, etc.
What about devices that detect things that we can't?
That's observable.
What about devices that detect things that we cannot detect using our senses? Do those count?
Yes. You mean like radio waves and stuff like that?
Correct.
Sure.
It's an honest question. I'm not setting a trap. I just want to help you define terms so that when we get to the next part of your argument, we know the scope of what you mean by observable. That's all I'm asking. So observable means anything that's detectable that we can measure somehow, right? Observe with our senses, build a machine to detect gravitational waves, whatever it may be, that counts as observable. Is that correct?
I was setting a trap, but I say yes.
Okay. What is the next part?
Yes. Yes to the trap. Here we go.
What's the next part?
No,
there's no trap. What's the next part?
No. That was the
going.
question. I'm just asking you to continue.
Yeah.
So we now know what you mean by supernatural. My second question was, how have you detected the supernatural and shown that it exists?
I've experienced God. For example, he responded to my prayer. And I think that's not natural because if you just like talk into the air, you will not get a response if there is no person listening to you.
How do you know he responded to your prayer?
Because I was lost in a foreign country and I needed to get out before I would get arrested. And then he told me, follow the blue. And then there was a blue line.
How did he tell you?
I followed them and they
How
let
are
me
you
right
told?
out.
How were you told?
Were you told by a letter? Was there a
Did you
voicemail?
audibly hear a sound of a
Blue
voice?
No. In my mind appeared a blue line in that
Okay.
moment. I was eating and in my mind appeared a blue line.
Oh, okay.
And then I go outside and I see that blue line on the ground. And I follow it. It leads me right out. It leads right
Just
out
out of
to-
curiosity, did you see this blue line Did you see this blue line before this moment as well?
Unconsciously, maybe.
Okay, so is it possible?
So yeah, unconsciously.
Is it possible, Ulrich? I'm not saying this is what happened, but is it possible that what you're describing is having an idea that you just had this thing, you knew this line existed, and you were in a moment where you were focusing on like, how the hell do I get out of it? And then you just, a thought popped into your head, hey, this blue line's there, and you thought maybe I should go follow it, and you did, and it worked. Do you think maybe that might be what happened?
Into my head. Yes, you're excluding the supernatural to looking for natural.
I'm not excluding the
Why?
supernatural.
Why
I
are you-
asked
yeah.
you if it is possible
Yeah.
that there is another explanation.
I think there's something we need to clarify because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
took it a different way when he said something. So, Ulrich, we just need a clarification here. When you say you prayed and then you saw a blue line, at that point, do you think the rest of us would have seen the blue line? Do you mean you noticed a blue line that was already there, like on the ground, painted or somehow, or on a map there was a line? Or do you mean more in the mystical sense of the line magically appeared to you, but other people that were there would not have seen it? Which meaning do you mean?
Okay, while I was praying, it appeared in my mind. Then I went outside, and it was literally painted.
Okay, so it is a physical line that you just thought of. So that's the same thing. Also, I want to point out that what you are describing, in a way, is an observation.
Yeah.
Which means that it wouldn't be supernatural in that case.
Right.
I have other questions, but I really want to get to the bottom of this first. So I want to just ask again. You have to understand if real thing. This is a serious talk. In my house, I have a hallway that leads away from my bedroom. And when I walk down that hallway, it's kind of narrow and the door often slams behind me in that bedroom. And it's because of just the air pressure change. As I walk down this hallway, it pushes air away in front of me, kind of makes a vacuum behind me, sucks that door in. It is possible that it's a goddamn ghost, or a fairy, or a demon, or a leprechaun, or some other supernatural thing that is actually slamming that door behind me. I'm not discounting a supernatural explanation. I'm not excluding a supernatural explanation. I just have a natural explanation that is much more likely. So I'm kind of going with that until I have something that can disprove that. Do you understand that difference? Because when I said, is it possible that there was a naturalistic way that you could think about this blue line, you accused me of deliberately excluding the supernatural, and I didn't. So do you understand the difference between coming up with an alternative hypothesis versus outright ruling out anything that I don't like? Do you get how those are different concepts?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Good.
So then back to the original question
I
then.
had a similar experience.
Is it possible, not saying it is what happened, but the original question, is it possible that the situation you were describing, the experience you had, was simply having an idea? You knew that blue line was there, you saw it before, you may not have thought about it before, but you had seen it, and now you're in this situation that's very stressful, and you're thinking, how the hell do I get out of where I'm at? And then the idea comes to you, maybe I can follow this blue line. And you interpret that as an answered prayer, but what it really was just your brain being a brain and coming up with an idea. Is that a possible explanation for what you experienced?
Yes.
Okay. So now, final question.
Possible.
How did you go about making the determination that it was not just you having an idea, which happens to everybody all the time, every day, several times a day, but it instead was divine intervention, an intercessory moment where a supernatural being interfered with your mind and caused you to think this thing? How did you determine that it was that happened and not the totally mundane reality of just having a thought pop into your head, as happens all the time forever?
Number one, because I was praying right at the time. And number two, that's not random reality. It happens all the time. You don't get solutions just popping into your mind.
You're talking
Yes,
about
you do.
coincidences. Ulrich, you're talking about literal coincidences and just the basics of thinking. Like, this is how it works. If I turn to Cross and I say, man, like what did you have for breakfast? Or like, tell me a story about, when you were a child in school or something. Like, it just pops into his fucking mind almost like magic. That's why we're so confused about consciousness still.
That's really what bothers me, is that you're saying that like this couldn't have been a coincidence. I was praying and then this thought came to me. Right. What you just described, Ulrich, is thinking. Answers just pop into your mind when you think about them. When you think about a problem, your mind creates an answer. It happens every time I've ever thought about a problem. Math, science, you name it. If I'm thinking about the problem, answers pop into my mind, and they're not all good, but they are all doing the same thing that you just described. You were focusing on this problem through prayer, through meditation, through deep contemplation. However, you had your mind fixed on this problem, and then an idea came to you. How did you determine that it wasn't just the same thing as when you stare at a math problem and think, what could it possibly be? Maybe it's this number, and it pops into your mind, versus an intercessory being that came down and fiddled with your brain? Like, how did you make that distinction?
I have a question for you, Ulrich, that maybe would frame this conversation, because your first go-to answer was, I prayed, and then this thing happened. Now, because it's prayer, I'm agreeing that, yeah, you're thinking and you got an answer. That's mundane, no big deal. But let's imagine you prayed for the fire hydrant to blow up, and then it blew up, right? So to use that as a proof or an argument for the existence of God is to confuse correlation with causation. It's called post hoc ergo propter hoc, after a thing, therefore because of that thing. Just because you prayed and then got an answer doesn't mean that the prayer caused the answer. Prayers happen all the time. People pray and don't go where they want all the time. 10,000 kids on this planet die every single day of starvation. Are you telling me their parents aren't praying for salvation? So your argument comes down to after a thing, therefore because of a thing, which is a point of study. I agree. It's sort of the beginning of the scientific process. Hey, is this repeatable? Right. Let's do this again and again. Let's go look at all the parents praying for their starving kids. Let's look at the people praying for cancer to go away. Magically, the prayers to make cancer go away work all the time. The prayers to grow limbs back never happen. That's kind of interesting, don't you think? So if we take your first argument of after prayer, therefore because of prayer, and we apply it to the broader world, we see that these things that happen because of prayer are mundane, and the things that would be against everything we know never happen. So how do you respond to all of this?
So first of all, how do you know it never happens that limbs grow back? I've heard stories that actually happens.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
I'm so sorry.
Right.
Hang on.
Wow.
I'm fucking muting you again. Ulrich. I truly believe you are not a fucking idiot. Okay? I don't think you are the actual dipshit that you've been presenting. Okay? I really do believe you are a functional, rational, decently intelligent human being, bro. And for some reason, you came on here and twice have been like, yeah, man, I just take people at their word for whatever bullshit they spout at me, and then go and be like, nah, man, I don't just believe everything I hear. Man, Gullible's written on the ceiling in the studio. You want to come check? I mean, come on, man. You are better than this. I know you are. And I know you don't accept things like this in your daily life, okay? Yes. Obviously, there are stories of Bigfoot, of limbs growing back, of pastors being resurrected after being buried for 3 days. But you want to know what? There's a billion other stories on the other side of that scale that totally outweighs that, man.
With medical records and photographic evidence.
Oh my God,
and court
And all the
testimony.
things that those stories don't have.
Exactly. It's so weird, but like the kid that fell through the ice that was dead for like 20 minutes or whatever, for some reason it happened like back in 1978 in some farm that nobody's really sure what town it was actually in, and like, was it Billy or Timmy or Johnny?
Doesn't matter.
I don't know. 15
It's
minutes,
proof.
20. Fuck it all. Come on, Ulrich. You don't accept this in your daily life, bro. And you are desperately trying to hold on to some of these things because they provide you comfort. And I understand that. I don't have a problem with people accepting some things because it makes them feel better. Shit, I do the same thing. I don't actually know that male puppies will pretend to be bad at tasks so that female puppies will play with them longer. I don't know that that's true, but I live in that world. I accept that because it makes me happy when I go to sleep at night, okay? I just think that's adorable. But look, that doesn't actually have any bearing on the reality around me. The stuff that you're talking about harms you. It has the potential to harm other people, and there's a reason you don't accept this other crap in your daily life, man. I know you're better than this, Ulrich. I know you are, dude. And I'm sorry I ranted. I don't know. I guess maybe it was the bats. I got rabies or something. I'm just feeling hot, you guys. I'll bring you back on. I'm sorry for yelling at you, but man, I know you're fucking better than this, Ulrich.
What are your thoughts, Ulrich?
How does that harm me? You just said
Because it makes you gullible.
Right.
Okay, it makes you it puts you further into the realm of gullibility, and gullibility is harmful. We are all gullible about certain things. If I come up to you and say, you know, I've got this new company I've heard about that is doing AI predictive text stuff, then it's going to blow up. And if you give me $100,000, I will invest it for you, and you're going to get at least a 20% annual return. You would be skeptical of me. You would want things like, hey, show me financial statements. Show me the actual documents that this companies actually exist. Take me to their headquarters. $100,000's a lot of money. I would have to run a huge scam to trick you because you would be skeptical of that. You should be that skeptical, i.e., question the evidence and come to a reasonable conclusion about it, about everything. If you believe stories that limbs grow back, but you explain away why that hasn't resulted in a Nobel Prize, what would that look like? Have you heard of the James River Church? Okay, they a year or two ago said, hey, we've had a miracle. We had a person, she lost her toes, we prayed for her, and the toes have grown back. They didn't realize the attention they were going to get from the press. Everybody came in. Somebody set up a website. I pulled it up now called showmethetoes.com, all right? And what happened? Did they show her? Did they show her toes, right? Because they had a video of her saying, I grew my toes back. But as soon as the worldwide press attention came on them, what did they say? Oh, well, we want to protect her privacy. We don't want to show this. What would have happened if it was real? Here are her toes. Here are the medical records. Here are the doctors that examined her. Here are the records showing they were amputated before. Here's an examination that shows that they're here now. We are now going to win a Nobel Prize, and we are going to open the church study of religion and God, at least as far as amputation repairs, in every single university around the world. There'll be a whole new scientific field of study here, right? How is this happening? That's not what happened. They just said, oh, well, she doesn't really want to share. So what's more likely here, right? What's more likely? God grew back the toes, or people occasionally lie for profit or fun? You don't want to be the gullible person, whether it's a little thing about I grew my toes back, or I should invest $100,000, or there's not a tiger in that grass, so I'm just going to walk over there. You shouldn't be gullible. That's harmful. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Good.
But I personally know people who got healed from cancer.
I was healed from cancer.
Yeah,
I was stage 4 colorectal cancer. I was diagnosed three days before my 40th birthday. You know what cured me? It wasn't my mother-in-law who prayed for me or my friends who prayed for me and all of that. It was going and finding the best medical help I could get. And quite frankly, the fact that I lived 3 years, I got diagnosed 3 years later than my being 36. Because if I was diagnosed about 3 or 5 years earlier than I was, I would not be here today, because science fixed the problem. And because I won a genetic lottery, I responded really well to the chemo. So how do you detect the difference between me and your friend who says God cured me? Because there's a ton of people like me who just go to the doctor, they get fixed, healed of cancer, all sorts of things, and a few people who'll say, hey, they cured my glaucoma or my cancer or whatever. How do we tell the difference between the two?
Yeah, funny enough, we've had prayer and disease for a really long time in human history, and only when medical science came on the scene
The
did
diseases start going away.
Right.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs got cancer, chose not to get treatment, go with the spiritual approach, and he died. How do you explain that, right?
Bob Marley, too.
Oh, yeah. So I mean this in the best way, the honest way. Put away the childish things. Right? You are grasping for excuses to be gullible. Don't be gullible. You can still live your spiritual life, but then acknowledge the reality of the world. We have not detected a supernatural, almost by definition. As soon as somebody does, they will win a Nobel Prize. And everything you've ever heard is just stories and miracles, and there is a big declining curve of miracles happening with the invention of the camera.
And real quick, I know we've shouted a lot at you, Ulrich, and I promise I'll shut up after this. I promise I will. But just real quick on that point. Yeah, you're right. They pay me not to, man. Very, very little. So when you actually accept that approach that you were just talking about as a believer, when you truly stop trying to shield your belief from all of the very, very available evidence around us, you actually get a stronger faith. Now, I know that's crazy. A host on the AXP is telling you how to get a stronger faith, but dude, like, actually delve into this stuff. I know so many pastors now. You would be surprised. And so many of them have absolutely no problem just being like, yeah, you know what? Honestly, I don't really have a super good reason to believe like Jesus comes back in the form of crackers or anything, but I just kind of do it, you know? You know what's cool about them? Those are the people that are regularly going out in their community and doing good. Those are the people that are actively fighting for a better world. And they don't have to pretend that their God made some boat 2,000 years ago and flooded the whole fucking earth to do that. You can still have all of the best things that you get out of this, Ulrich, and just put away all the bullshit, man. Like, join the secular side. The water is great, man.
And what SR is saying is true. You better arm yourself to detect what? Fraudulent preachers. Pastors, right? Because we know they're out there. If you come to a point where you are accepting the limitations of your own knowledge, but also realizing that people will lie for fun and profit, you can seek out a community that is as spiritual as you, but is not vulnerable to these hucksters or to false claims that are based on religion. And more importantly, you also stop giving cover to those in that same community who would do harm in the name of religion. So distancing yourself from excuses and dealing with reality does not necessarily mean you are going to lose something as a person. I agree with you. I think he will gain a tremendous amount.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
What do you think, Ulrich? We've said a lot of things to you here. I still have questions for you, but I want to hear what you say to all this. Just the concept of skepticism as a general good, atheist or otherwise. What do you think?
But two things, like the example I gave and the example you just gave that you were cured from cancer. So people praying for you and then the medicine helping you, how can that not go together? It's the same thing.
Because I'll tell you why. There's a very simple example, and this is what we were talking about, post hoc ergo propter tap.
Yep.
After the prayer, therefore because of the prayer. 100% of people that have been cured after receiving medication were cured after they received medication. Of those people, less than 100% were cured after they received prayer. Prayer seems to be the excuse we give when people are cured, but medication is the consistent thing. Very few people are cured of cancer without medication, but we're aware of natural remission. But when I take those groups and break them up into people who were prayed for and people who weren't, we don't see a difference. There was something called the National Prayer Study, the Great Prayer Study. It was done by the Templeton Foundation, a very religious organization who honestly seeks out evidence of God. I respect them a lot. They don't sit around and gaze at their belly buttons and say, I guess I believe in ghosts because I need to believe in God. They go out and say, what proof can we find? Because they want to be scientific about it. They studied the largest study of people who had serious heart conditions and were divided into two halves. Some were prayed for and some were not. There was no difference between the groups in results. This is called intercessory prayer. God did not intercede in a greater rate between those two groups. In fact, there were subgroups where some of the people were told they were being prayed for, and some were those that were prayed for were not told that they were being prayed for. The people who were told they were being prayed for actually had statistically significant worse medical outcomes. So every time we look at this, we don't see what you're claiming because of after prayer, therefore because of prayer. That's my response to you.
And the big thing that what's so frustrating about this, Ulrich, is that we literally just covered it.
Yes.
When we're talking about these people were prayed for and then they got healed. Okay, is that the only thing that happened or not? Was there a bunch of other shit? Maybe the janitor walked by with evergreen scented stuff instead of lemon scented cleaner today. Was that what did it? What about all the other times that something else happened and the similar result happened? You could analyze all of these different options and come up with actual answers. But you don't. You find something that feels good and you believe it because you want to believe it because you want to believe it because you want to believe it. That's not how thinking works, dude.
Yeah, you're counting the hits and ignoring the misses.
Yes, and Graham, you took the words right out of my mouth. Is like the thing is, in these situations, there was a lot of things happening that helped these people get better. Namely, doctors. Yeah. People actually perform medical miracles, real miracles, actual medicine. Elliot pointed this out earlier. Funny how disease has been around for all of human history and prayer has been around for all of human history. It's only when medical science advanced that we started seeing the disease go away, and the prayer is now what is given the credit. It's ridiculous. If you were honest about this, you would accept the fact that I'm not saying it is what happened, but it's possible that the medicine is what fixed these people. The medicine is what cured these people. The doctors are what did the work to cure these people. And if you now have two options, either it was God or it was the doctors, you can now run some tests. And the Templeton Foundation did. And what they found out through actual science done by people who want to believe like you do, who are biased in your direction, if anything, they found that this doesn't work. In fact, it almost usually makes things worse. Right. It's better for people to go to a doctor and get medicine than it is for them to pray. I have different questions for you. And I don't know if we're going to have time for any of them.
We probably should.
I'll just end by saying there is a county in Idaho called Canyon County. It has a graveyard populated with 600 gravestones of children, because that county is that state is the last remaining state in this country that gives an legal exemption to parents who let their kids die because they refuse to give them proper medical care and instead anoint them with oil as instructed by the Bible and pray over them. And we have cases of children dying of an ear infection that could have been treated with a drop, and they die because it goes to their brain, with the most faithful people in the world praying over their sick children day in and day out, to the point that documentaries have been made about this. And why has that law not been changed? Because people who are Christian keep saying, I don't want to vote down a law that favors other people's religion. I don't want to interfere with that. That's the harm of what you're talking about. If you just say prayer works because I saw it work one time, I think, you lead to this conclusion. It's despicable, quite frankly. Stop allowing this sort of thought process when you know what it's going to do.
I'm to blame for.
Yes, you are, quite frankly. Absolutely. If this has been explained to you time in and time out, of course it's a fallacy. But I'm speaking in a broader metaphorical sense. The bigger the Christian community is, the reason that law is still on the books, it has made it out of committee. They have tried to get rid of this law multiple times. It always makes it out of committee. The people who actually examine it are like, we need to get rid of this. It goes to the floor. It's a unicameral house in Idaho. It gets voted down. And every single person that votes against it, that is willing to speak on the record, the politicians say, I'm not going to vote against fellow Christians. So having these irrational views contributes to harm. Abstractly, but it does. So yes, I do blame you one iota.
I also want to point out the fact that very funny for you to say that we are committing a fallacy here when your entire goddamn argument is lots of people believe this, so it's probably true, which is, follow me here, called the bandwagon fallacy, which is an actual logical fallacy, not the shit that you were claiming as a fallacy at the beginning, and Elliot had to correct you. Most importantly, you talk about the harm from this shit. Ulrich, we've talked a million times. You wouldn't believe the dumb homophobic and transphobic shit that you do if you didn't believe the dumb supernatural shit that you do.
Oh, wow.
Yes, this causes harm. You are an example of that. Yes, I do blame you for a lot of things. Grow the fuck up.
And I know we all heard it.
Yes.
I know we all heard it, and there were just too many other things we had to touch on. But Remember when he gave his definition for supernatural?
Yes.
And one of the definitions was that it was undetectable by
Yes.
any of the means.
I
And then
wrote that in
proceeded
my
to go
notes.
about how he detected the shit.
Oh my God! That was one of the questions. I know we don't have time for it. One of the questions I wanted to ask was, how do you tell the difference between something that is completely unobservable and undetectable and shit that isn't real? And apparently, it's toes growing or something. I don't know. I feel like
ShowMeTheToes.com, ladies and gentlemen.